had a phenomenal experience in Japan, learning the full process of how to make soba noodles by hand, which ingredients are the correct ingredients to use, to the correct mixing and rolling techniques. I also went to a restaurant which showed me how to use all of the different machinery involved in soba making. I also went to a matcha factory where I learned that matcha can be incorporated into soba. It was interesting to go to all of the different factories, like see where the buckwheat was harvested from, understand the difference between which buckwheat is a good quality grain and which is a bad quality grain. I learned that the browner the buckwheat is, the worse quality it is. Therefore, it won't make a fine enough flour for the noodle. I'm looking forward to putting everything I've learned into practice. Today I worked with Daisuke to create a soba dish together, which I thought I could do to practice making the noodles for Aji restaurant, just so that I can practice the handmade process of the noodle. I thought it would be a great idea to have one dish which was sold at Aji restaurant in the meantime, so then by the time Daijobu has been created, I will have a much better practice in the art of soba. We also looked at different methods of making the broth. I looked at altering the quantity of dashi to kaeshi to create a dipping broth for the cold soba, so that therefore I can have an entire dish, the tempura, the soba noodles which I've made, and the dipping broth.
This one you already mixed.
I noticed this, yeah. That's like 1 to 40.
So this one for cold
Well, I
soba.
find this is very strong. It's quite sweet, yeah. I don't know if it's like, maybe the things I've used was different to the things that they use. Sorry, I tried a little bit as well. Sweet. Yeah. I thought so. Daisuke walks me through how he puts the soy sauce with the bonito and everything into a pot and into the fridge. And he explained to me how he had actually matured that for 7 years, sort of kept topping it up, and the flavour was phenomenal, which he had developed over that period of time. Zoe was also on hand to help me teach some things, and she helped me with the tempura. Also, she worked with me and Daisuke on getting the quantities right for the broth. Yeah, I can see how amazingly they work together in the kitchen, and I think they have great communication between each other, which was really nice to see. I was very grateful for Zoe, which showed me a different way of putting the tempura in the oil, where you kind of flicked it into the oil. This kind of shook off most of the batter, so you had a very thin layer of batter around the vegetables, which made a lot more crunchy texture. The noodles were actually very well cooked. They just needed to be a little bit thinner, so I need to practice that a little bit more. The broth tasted incredible. I feel like it really reminded me of my experience in Japan. The tempura was also very nicely cooked. It was crunchy on the outside, but still very soft and sweet in the middle, which really went well with the soba noodles. They all accompanied each other in a very beautiful way. I feel like the more and more I practice the noodle making, which I need to get thinner, but I feel like the process now I've got down to a T. I think the more I sort of look at the flavours and the general dish ideas, slowly, I think the dishes itself will progress a lot more.